In this video I will show you how to knit toeup socks with mock rip on the Passap. They are a fun and easy project. First, make sure the racking handle is in its lowest position. Slide the lock to the left and insert the eyelet with the yarn into the jaws. Pass the yarn around the left extension plate and wind it around the racking handle. This will ensure the yarn will stay between the beds of the machine. Clear the row counter, set both levers to N and the stitch size to 3. Now insert the orange strippers. Raise 36 needles on the front bed, 18 to the left and 18 to the right side of the center. Place the edge springs on the last working needles. Now raise the opposite 36 needles on the back bed according to the needle rule and place the edge springs on the last working ones. It should look like this. Now knit one row. Set both locks to CX and increase the stitch size to 4. Now knit 2 or 4 rows. Clear the row counter, then set the front lock to BX and the stitch size to 5. Set the back lock to GX. Remove the orange strippers and insert the black ones. Now take a strand of contrasting color yarn and lay it over the stitches. Pull both ends of this yarn between the beds of the machine and tie them together as shown in the video. Make several knots and attach a small weight to the loop. It should look like this. Now you can unwind the yarn from the racking handle and put it between the beds of the machine. Raise pushers under all needles in working position on the front bed. Put one pusher in resting position on the opposite side of the lock and knit one row. Repeat these steps until the row counter is at 20 rows. This way you will shape the toe part of the sock. The zigzag row in the beginning and the short rows which we are making right now will make the toe look exactly like the one on the cotton sport socks which you can find in the stores. I will leave the whole process so you can see how easy it is to knit these socks. When you knit these 20 rows, you must have 10 pushers in resting position on each side. Now raise one pusher on the opposite side of the lock and knit one row. Repeat these steps until all pushers are in working position. The row counter must be at 20 rows. As you can see, the process is very simple. When you finish, the lock must be on the right side of the machine. Don't forget to support me by liking the video and leaving me a comment below. Now clear the row counter, set both locks to CX and the stitch size to 5. Start from left to right on the back bed and slightly raise the third needle, then every sixth needle. Now take the single prong tool and transfer the stitches from the raised needles to the adjacent needles. I'm transferring the stitches to the right, but it won't make any difference if you transfer them to the left. Put the empty needles out of working position. Now knit 136 rows. Clear the row counter and set the front lock to BX. Then set the back lock to GX. Now you have to make the heel the same way as you make the toe part. You have to put one pusher in resting position on the opposite side of the lock and knit one row. Then continue repeating these steps until the row counter is at 20 rows. By the way, if you want to knit a pair of socks without a heel, you can check the info card in the upper right corner. They are very soft and comfortable, and when you put them on, you will be amazed at how they will fit your feet. When the row counter is at 20 rows, you have to start raising the pushers the same way until all of them are in working position. When you're done, the lock will be on the right side of the machine and the row counter will be at 20 rows. Now set both locks to CX again. Start from left to right on the front bed and slightly raise the fourth and every sixth needle. Now use the single prong tool and transfer the stitches from the raised needles. I will transfer the stitches to the left, but you may transfer them in either direction. Don't forget to put the empty needles out of working position. Now knit 84 rows. Clear the row counter. Now you have to transfer the stitches on both beds in a 1-to-1 division. Start by transferring the leftmost needle on the back bed one needle to the left, then continue until you transfer the rest of the stitches. Don't transfer the stitches to the empty needles that are out of working position because this will ruin the look of the socks. On the front bed, you need to transfer the stitches in the same way. They have to be in a 1-to-1 division. In the video, I'm not transferring them in the right way, but this didn't change the final result. You can use the diagram to transfer the stitches easily. The needle rule is not observed, but that's not a problem. If you ever made these socks, you can send me a photo of them on my Facebook page or my email. I will be very happy to see them. When you transfer all of the stitches, you have to knit 120 rows to make the mock rip. Now clear the row counter. Use the orange ruler and raise all needles between the edge springs on both beds of the machine. It should look like this. Now knit 6 rows. Clear the row counter. Move the lock to the right and take out the feeding eyelet. Now move the edge springs and the trip cam for the row counter to the sides. Manually knit off the rightmost stitch on the front bed with the yarn from the eyelet, then raise 2 additional needles and wind the yarn around the rightmost one. Take the Tricofit device and insert the eyelet with the yarn. Align the Tricofit, move the left lever to 1 and make sure the latches of the first needles are open. Remove the weight and start rotating the knob to make the cast off. I have a video about using the Tricofit device, so you can watch it by clicking on the info card in the upper right corner. If you don't have a Tricofit device or you don't want to use it, you can knit 2 CX rows with a larger stitch size setting and make a latch cast off. You can sew off the stitches or you can take off the sock on waste yarn. No matter which option you will choose, you will need to fold the rib in half and sew it at the end. When you cast off the stitches on the front bed, move the Tricofit to the left. Then take the loop from the leftmost needle, stretch it and hook it on the leftmost needle on the back bed. Raise 1 additional needle to the left on the back bed, put the Tricofit and align the decker needle with the empty needle. Set the Tricofit lever to 1 and make sure the latches on the first few needles are open. Now start rotating the knob until you cast off the stitches on the back bed. I have to warn you that I am not rotating the knob so fast. The video is sped up on purpose. When you cast off all stitches, detach the Tricofit device from the back bed and remove the feeding eyelet. Raise the rightmost needle on the back bed all the way and wind the yarn from the eyelet behind the latch and into the hook. Then push the needle all the way to knit off the stitch. Pull some yarn from the eyelet so you have enough to sew the rib later, then cut the yarn from the eyelet. Now use the orange tool. Pick up the yarn loop from the rightmost needle on the back bed and pull the yarn through the loop as shown in the video. At this point you can bring the needles all the way up, then push them all the way back to remove the sock from the machine. This is the sock right after you take it from the machine. Now you can cut the contrasting color yarn and pull it out. We are almost ready. This is what the sock looks like. Now you have to fold the rib inside and sew it using the cast-off tail. And this is the final result. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching and see you in my next one.